Okay, are we about ready to get started? Hello. Just trying to stay on schedule. Do I have to use my judge voice? Okay, good afternoon. I'm Kathy Pruitt. I'm district judge for Whitley and McCreary counties, and I'm so happy to be back at Union College. Union College will always have a soft place in my heart because this is where I got my undergraduate degree before law school. So I live in Corbin. I've lived there all my life. Thank you. I don't have my gavel. But anyway, thank you for participating in this session, drug courts and legal issues related to addiction and recovery. And this is a pretty good follow-up to some of the comments that were made in the last session. Juveniles are very different, as you know, to deal with than are adults who are addicts. I've been a judge for almost 20 years, and when I started, we had juvenile drug court specifically funded by the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That was stopped in approximately 2010, I believe it was. So that left a lot of problems, but we have overcome them, and we're stronger today treating our children and under 18, and we still do a few 18-year-olds in the program. But we're stronger today than ever, so it turned out to be a good thing that we lost state funding. But we're totally self-funded now, and we work with the help of Cumberland River Behavioral Health, which I'll get to in a little bit. About half of what I do as district judge involves juveniles, kids under the age of 18. And as I said, when I started 20 years ago, we did have a juvenile drug court. And how did a child come into the system then? It's similar now, but I'm kind of, how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been, right? So we're going to start in the back and come forward. We have children who have public offenses. That would be a crime if you did it as an adult. And we have kids who have status offenses, which is not a crime for us. We don't have to go to school. We can be out of control if we want to. Those are the status offenses. But the public offenses are what you would be responsible for as an adult. So back in the day, we would have many kids coming into court on truancy. That's just what they did. And as they came in, they would be drug screened, if not that day, in very rapid succession. And if they were positive, then they would go into automatically juvenile drug court. And if they successfully completed that program, then the charge would be dismissed. And of course, what does successfully mean? For a truancy charge, that means they got back on track and didn't miss any more school. Behavioral issues, that means they started minding mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whoever had custody. As far as the public offenses, for example, theft, assault, that took a little bit longer because we would have to work through those more than just, hey kid, go to school. So the concept that eventually came to us very quickly after the state funding stopped was something called reclaiming futures. Who's heard of reclaiming futures? If you were here last year, I know you did because I talked about it. That's my life outside of regular district court. The concept behind it is there has to be a model for kids who are in the court system. How do you treat them if they have substance abuse? And we have expanded looking more carefully for mental health issues. And I know co-occurring, they go together, right? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I really hate that Jeff is not going to be here this afternoon because I wanted him to come back and talk some more about one thing he touched on this morning, but that's okay. We'll get through it. So what was the difference in reclaiming futures and the old-fashioned state juvenile drug court? One thing was the reclaiming futures uses evidence-based. Now, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a therapist. I wish I were, especially dealing with my husband sometimes. But I'm going to use my language, not what you therapists and counseling use, but it's evidence-based. That means it has been proven to be a good approach to treating an issue. We have proof it works. I remember one time back when I first started, I was very, very green. And there was a therapist there. I adored him, but he did the old drug court. And I said, well, what do you do when you have a kid in there in the room with you? Well, we talk. I said, well, what standard do you use? And he said, we talk. So then the more I learned, it's very dangerous for me to dabble because I start doing research. I thought, okay, are you doing cognitive behavioral therapy? And I asked him, and he said, no, not really. Okay. So this really started bothering me. So I was very happy when Reclaiming Futures came along. And of course, he adapted. He knew that. And I sometimes think he was just playing a game with me. But anyway, evidence based, that's huge. The model for Reclaiming Futures is you screen, you do assessments, you initiate treatment, you have service coordination. I struggled. What is service coordination? Again, I'm a lawyer, not a therapist. And finally, I figured it's just a plan. It's just a plan for what that child needs. Put it together, make it happen. Easy. We now can initiate all this in less than 7 days, not counting weekends. When we started, we were probably at 3 weeks, but we now have it so together. And I say we, it's Cumberland River Behavioral Health. And of course, emergencies, we do it right then. The Ridge, for example, and I'm not promoting anybody, we just use them because they're pretty close, but they do 24/7 assessments. So if I have a child in really major trouble, hopefully mom or dad will take him to the Ridge to get an assessment. And of course, we always have Baptist Health Trillium Center in Corbin. So emergencies we can treat. Now, the next part is kind of, to me, the hard part, engagement. Because not only are you engaging the child, you're engaging the custodian. So not only are you engaging the child, but you're also engaging everything. But I cannot imagine raising a 5-year-old. I feel pretty young. I don't think I would tackle it. I don't think I could. So am I going to like it when somebody says, "Hey, my 5-year-old's now, it's got a drug problem. I have to go through." I just retired. I'm getting ready to go on vacation. So you hit resistance. You have two kinds of resistance. One is, oh, you mean I got to do that? Well, okay, I'll find a way. The other one is, I always wonder when they say I'm not doing it, why? Are they hiding something? Where did the kid get the drugs? And that's, as you can see, I could present a whole day on this. So I'm just skimming the surface. We're going to have plenty of time for questions because, like I said, Jeff couldn't make it. Another important thing in my mind, at least from experience, Reclaiming Futures has given us the initiative. We were afraid before to add mentors. We have a screening process for our mentors to go through, criminal background checks. We have a lot of teachers. Matter of fact, there was one lady sitting here this morning with Dr. Moss, and she is a retired teacher. She is a mentor, and she's a tutor. Tutors are another wonderful thing that we have gotten going. The more sets of eyes that you have on the child, the more likely the child will be successful. So, at that same time, initially when this is before 2015, so we're looking 2010 to 2015. The child comes into court, we screen, positive screen, they go to juvenile drug court. Okay, Reclaiming Futures, track 1. Then along came something that I still have nightmares about. Have you ever heard about Senate Bill 200? Senate Bill 200. It passed in 2015, and it substantially changed the juvenile justice system. We've always had court-designated workers who are employed by the state administrative office of the courts, but it basically took all the truancy cases, the beyond controls, and the more minor public offenses, which are crimes if you did it, and put them through the court designated worker. Guess what? That means I no longer could offer them juvenile drug court or reclaiming futures. So we put our heads together and said, okay, how are we going to overcome this? So drug court then became track 1, and we developed track 2, diversion. Not going to get us, right? We're going to do this. So we have very on board court designated workers in both Whitley and McCreary County, Whitley especially. And it would be a condition if they were dirty, they had dirty drug screen, they would, as a part of their diversion, they would have to go through reclaiming futures. That had some drawbacks. The biggest one is they never saw a judge, i.e. me. So there was no hammer over their head saying, you got to do this, you got to get clean, come on, what's going on, where are you getting your drugs, you need to go through this, we need family therapy. Okay. And then the state told us, you cannot make a diversion subject to drug court standards unless the parent wants to, custodian wants to. So where are we now with the track 2? It has grown because the parents realize, custodian, I say parent, odds are it's probably not a parent, but custodians now realize, okay, this is a good thing. Yeah, I'm going to have to run a little bit more, but it's a good thing. Okay, so that's the diversion. The downside of the diversion is if the child does not successfully complete, they still see me. Then they come to court, regular court. But guess what has happened in that 6 months that the CDW, my favorite word, has been wallowing this kid? They've missed more school. They've gotten into more trouble. And if they were using drugs, they're using even heavier drugs now. So you see the quandary that we are in.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, that's fine. So then we noticed we were getting requests from custodians saying, hey, can I get services for my 15-year-old? Well, yeah, sure. Bring them into comp care. That's our favorite word for Cumberland River Behavioral Health, comp care. Sure, bring them in and we'll see what's going on. Okay, more. Okay, well, we need a third track of reclaiming futures. What are we going to call it? How about prevention? We now have just now, and this is a big number for that track for us. We have 9 kids. That's a big number just to be in. It's not. The good thing about it is, yes, you have to be in, have a diversion services. Bad thing. Do what the case manager says. Andrew can hit. I don't see kind of a angle, but do get them. Right now we have 20. The pandemic, at one time 30 was the most we had. Now 28 is outrageous because remember the schools closed, even closed for a while, and once they could, comp care Melissa started doing Zoom, communicate with the children. You couldn't go out into the home. They couldn't come into the courthouse. The courthouse was closed. It was a disaster. What else we have seen? Trying to sort of get back to normal. Talked about it this morning. Goodness, no drugs, mental health, out of control, totally. Which leads me into else we have. I mentioned this last year because I just had contact with a lady who Bethany's very, very sad stories. One school that I worked with had middle school suicide. I knew the 2 kids. And by the way, there is an in-house therapist who runs them. They pay for them. I don't know. They're not Reclaiming Futures, but they have a direct line to Reclaiming. But Bethany's Hope was created by a lady, another Melissa, very good friend of mine. Her 16-year-old daughter, they had been out of school shopping for school, and everything was great. She was a straight A student, teacher's favorite, many, many friends, church 3 times a week, just jolly, wonderful, beautiful. She was even taking modeling classes. She loved horses. Anyway, they came back from shopping up to her room. Good shot. So she went flying to the doctor. Mom won't mind me telling this because she's do anything at my help. Mom is a traveling. She carries a gun in her car. Child had gotten hit. That was a double devastation. The only way she could deal with this is, of course, it took her a while. She said, "Okay, I've got to do something." That's King Bethany's. She has teamed up with Reclaiming Futures, teamed up with her, promote each other. She talks a lot, just like I do. The events we have at home, for example, there's a child abuse walk. I don't know if that's statewide. Child abuse. Anyway, she's going to be in on that. She has fundraisers to promote education, wristbands. It has, who knows the suicide prevention number? 988. 988. It's a national number, but it will ring in locally. I think it's a national answering, but it rings local. So you get a local person and they talk to you. I've not read all of what they say, but it's a huge number. I can only speak for my area, but very high. I'm glad we have it. It's an easy number. I'm picture I have. One of the things that Bethany's Hope does as a fundraiser is they ask students at one of our high schools to, in the art class, to sketch, draw, paint, whatever kids in art classes do. I can't draw a stick man. And they had 65 entries. And then they voted. I'm not sure who they was. I didn't want to be part of it because they were all so magnificent. They voted, found one. Well, there is now a billboard. So if you go south on I-75 toward Williamsburg, if you look over on the right or the left, I think it's on the right going south, you will see the picture that won. And it has that 988 number. I chose one of them I wanted, and I met the little girl who did it. And it's a little girl, beautiful girl. Very creative kids. But we have to do education on suicide. And I haven't had as much resistance as I thought I would, probably because I would argue with them and they know I would. But you hear, well, the more we talk about it, the more likely kids are going to do it. No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. We have to have education to do this. Okay, so I could go on and on. Let me summarize here, and I'll let the other two talk. Then we'll have some questions. With the program that I do, the idea is to front load services. Don't wait until the child is in such horrible shape that nothing's going to help. So front load those services before it gets worse. Address those mental health issues, and I totally agree with the panels who talked earlier. Substance abuse does not help mental health issues. Mental health issues won't help you got to have both. You have to have both. Adverse childhood experiences. That's what I wanted Jeff to come back up and talk about, the trauma. And for years, I thought trauma had to be, okay, somebody comes up and hits you. No, I have trauma. I would dare say if we did a hand count, every one of us has had some trauma in varying degrees in our lives. And adverse childhood experiences, look for them. If you work with kids, look for them. One other thing is vapes. I could do a whole 2 hours on vapes. Vapes are killing our kids. And it's not the vape like your brother fought to try to quit smoking cigarettes. We had one found in Whitley County that was laced with fentanyl. THC's the biggie. There were three girls at one of our schools together who somehow snuck vapes in, smoked them in the bathroom or whatever you do with a vape. I've never even seen one up close. And they all three passed out, had to go to the hospital. So we have to get rid of vapes. So if you know a legislator who can help, I doubt that it'll happen this session, but we got to start screaming it. My new state rep is a Survivor, and I've already got his ear. You know what I'm talking about? Survivor, the TV show. And he's super kid person. So I've barely scratched the surface. I'm going to turn it over now. Who wants to go next? Either one. Okay, you got your thing up. All right, so this is Danielle Perkins, and she is victims advocate with KSP. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, my name is Danielle Perkins. I'm the Justice Program Administrator with the Kentucky State Police. So I'm over the victim services part of our agency, and I also do Handle with Care and the Angel Initiative as well. And what I came here to talk to y'all today about is our Angel Initiative. There it goes. So the Kentucky State Police started our Angel Initiative in 2016, and it was, it had one mission. It was to save lives. KSP was seeing a lot of overdose deaths in a lot of the counties in the southeastern part. So they started the pilot at Post 9, which is our Pikeville post down here in the corner, and they worked through the program with a lot of the community members. Operation Unite helped in order to set up the program, and once the pilot was successful, then we spread it statewide. So the Angel Initiative is our response to assisting folks that are looking for treatment, substance use disorder treatment. It is available, again, in all 16 posts. It is a proactive voluntary program. So what that means is a lot of people think, oh, it's the Kentucky State Police. I can take my loved one there and they'll make them go to treatment. And that is not what this is. The individual has to initiate the Angel Initiative. They have to come to post themselves to do paperwork for the Angel Initiative. So it is not something that where we make people go. We want to be there when a person needs that help, decides they want to go to treatment, and they come to us and we can assist them with that. So with any program, there are some disqualifiers with the Angel Initiative. So outstanding arrest warrant, non-extraditable arrest warrant for any state. The participant is a registered sex offender in any state. There's a reasonable belief that the individual may be a danger to others, either at post or in a facility. An unaccompanied minor, any minor that comes to us for treatment, we have to have their legal guardian with them. They can't come alone. Probation and parole. Probation and parole now currently have their own program to where anyone that is on probation and parole can come to their office and they will assist them in being placed in treatment. And it kind of works into their program. So usually if someone on probation or parole comes in, then we direct them back to their probation and parole office. I'll learn to use this in a minute. So how does it work? Candidates call, ask questions all the time. Then we tell them that they can come in, so they'll present to the KSP post. We ask that they have a photo ID or any form of other kind of identification. Any health insurance, but that's not necessary because we can help find a treatment program for them that does not accept insurance. We ask that they sign a participant agreement form. That is the first step after we make sure they are who they say they are. This will allow us to do the records check to see if they have any kind of criminal background warrants or on the sex offender registry. This also allows them to agree to be searched because we can't let them into post until we search them. And we also, participants that do have drugs and drug paraphernalia on them, They can turn those over. If they have them, then they won't be charged, jailed, or investigated for any of those. We just confiscate them and we destroy them and we move on with the Angel Initiative. They are not punished for having those. Participants begins an intake process. So this is a series of paperwork where we ask them questions, get to know them a little better. So this helps us to determine the type of treatment option that that individual will need. We then locate a treatment facility and they contact them, and the treatment facility then does their intake process using our paperwork. It helps the individual kind of keep things on track. And they do the phone intake. And once a treatment facility has been located, then of course it is the Angel Initiative. So who do you think angels are? Our troopers. So troopers do provide transport to the treatment facilities, and this is awesome in a way that it is a straight statewide program. You can come to the post that serves your county, but also if there's no beds available in that post area or that county, then we can do a relay. We can put someone in a bed that's, 7 counties over. We can put somebody in Western Kentucky in a bed in Eastern Kentucky. It's just the availability of what that person needs and our ability to get them there. And a lot of the times, I know before a couple of the folks were talking about stigma among substance use disorder and law enforcement. So I think it's hard to not find someone that has not been affected by addiction in the state. A family member, loved one, a friend, somebody you went to school with, and that includes our troopers because a lot of them, they've had the same experience. I know when I hired in my first ride along with a trooper at Post 7, I hired in as a victim advocate in Richmond, and I did my ride along, and he had a phone call, and he took that phone call and he got back in the car and he said that was my friend. I helped him with an Angel Initiative, and it was like 6 months earlier. He was still in contact with him. The gentleman had gone through, had gotten out, was doing well, and he still called in contact, kept in contact. The individual would call and ask him questions. It was just, I was like, wow, that's great. That's awesome. I like that. So and that trooper felt the need to be that angel and stay in contact with that person and be that support person. He had lost a family member. Um, It'll go backward, but and another area that the Kentucky State Police has. So we have our Angel Initiative, which is our resource for treatment placement. We also have educational programs for parents, children and other organizations, church, etc. You saw our mobile drug education trailer outside. That is actually something that the community can request to have at events. So schools, churches, anyone can request to have one of our PAOs at any of the post drug education trailer. We also have troopers that come out and they'll do presentations. One of those is destructive decisions. Often those are for schools, children's organizations, churches, things like that. The trooper then talks about how decisions that you make in your life can be good decisions, destructive decisions. A lot of substance use disorder starts with just one decision to pick up that drug. And they even talk about social media safety, um, social issues, any bad decision, not wearing your seatbelt when you drive. That's one of the things that they talk about as well. And then also hiding in plain sight is one of the educational presentations that they give to parents as well. And it is, they talk about the signs that your child may be using drugs, signs that they're using alcohol, just it might be the physical signs, and also they bring props such as this. So they'll have a lot of things that I didn't even realize they made Arizona anymore because I'm 45 years old and I don't think I've had one of these since I've been in high school. So I saw that. I was like, I don't, yeah. Um, but they will come and they will show you different places that kids can, you're cleaning their room, you see that sitting there. It feels just like a full can of a drink. It can be cold. It got cold in my car, but uh, your children can hide it anywhere. They have cologne bottles. They have deodorant containers, just different things, and they'll show you how you can take them apart. Hairspray. The one prop that I wish I could have brought, but he needed it, was a Pringles can that had a hiding spot in it. But you pick it up and you shake it, and you can hear the chips in it. It feels like a Pringles can, sounds like a Pringles can, but you can open the bottom up, and there's a spot you can hide drugs. So those are some of the areas that we support the community in accessing treatment and also educating the community on drug use and the prevention of.
Is Renee Moore, president of? Okay, ma'am.
Well, he's getting that up again, my name more, and I grew up here, moved away for a time, and came back, and so I'm actually the founder of this company, and I have a couple others. But what I like to refer to what I do is um, rehabilitation electronic monitoring. I actually trademarked uh, that wording. Is that think about it over time. In the last 5 years, Bluetooth devices has increased in use. Everything from, I'll give you an example, right? Dexcom on that pairs with my, and it tells me what my blood sugar level is based on my behavior. My blood sugar does not become dangerous unless that my behavior went to the snack bar out here and I ate some cookies, lemon bars, and made a poor choice at lunch. And then, an hour later, it's, setting off alarms. And when I look at that number, that tells me that my behavior contributed to that outcome. So with rehabilitation electronic monitoring, um, we're app based and we're an app that is powerful, flexible. So why we have this and why I got into this is that treatment and tracking and rehabilitation electronic monitoring all kind of go hand in hand. Is that you know in the old days of me being in social work and um, treatment programs, uh, we did our work all year. And if you were working on grants, then at the end of the year, you started like getting pieces of paper out and trying to count numbers and figure out like what your outcomes were. And so you did your data collection in for your grant reporting. Well, now with rehabilitation, electronic monitoring, and the way that smartphone apps work, we gather outcomes daily with every interaction. And so in today's time, with how that we work, is uh, the more that the participant interacts with the device, just think about how many times that you all interacted with your smartphone today to get here, whether it's directions, a reminder, push reminder on your phone that this was, you had this event today, that you pulled up, what the agenda is. Well, this smartphone app works. It's used in drug court. So it's used in drug court nationwide. The only state that this app is not used in drug court is the state of Kentucky. And I have to say that because it's a pain point, for me. So I'm pointing to you, or didn't realize it was. So as you go back to the next one. All right, yeah. Back one more. I'm sorry, I'm off guard here. So as you can see, this is ARC's information. Obviously we are in the Appalachian region, and the economic distress and the drug overdose. We're at the center of it, and we have the darkest colors. Next slide, please. So, and what this product does is that it can be used in multiple programs, whether you're a standalone organization, your drug court, your pretrial, and some pretrials and federal programs use this app. That it's an alternative to incarceration, and it's alternatives in rehabilitation. So some of these as it's related to the court, see how what matches up. Now, the big thing is drug court is just one of those programs that falls into that area. Next slide, please. So the main features of the app is it's got telemedicine, two-way video for SUD treatment. We've used it for COVID as well. The cognitive behavioral database. We even have a resume job portal that is used for programs with child support participants, that instead of incarcerating them, they're monitored on this. So they get help building a resume, and we can track that they're actually applying for jobs. So they can't just say, yeah, I'm applying for jobs and I can't get hired. So we have the GPS compliance verification, peer support, and that GPS compliance is that for those that are under court monitoring, the app is set up as a randomizer and both. If it's a scheduled activity, say Judge Pruitt here sentences someone to, you got to do 90 AA meetings in 90 days. I know Fred does that. He does a lot of AA meetings. Well, I get those clients, and they can't get a piece of paper and go and get somebody to sign it, walk in the front door, and walk out the back door. They literally have to calendar that that's the meeting that they're at. Then at that time, when they walk to that location, when they're at that location, app opens up, they have to take a selfie of themselves, which pairs with a baseline photo for facial recognition. It verifies that it's them, and it shows that they're at that meeting. Then it shows how long they're at that meeting, and then it schedules a recovery journal for them to complete after that they've attended that meeting, so that they have an opportunity to interact with that, and there we can get some data and information uh, for outcome metrics. So that, and the same thing, we can have availability through the two-way telemedicine app, the peer support aspect. So if someone is on this and they need to reach out, it's that live face-to-face that they can get, because a lot of relapse and a lot of issues don't always happen between 8 and 4 business hours. It can, more crises happen after business hours when nobody's available. I would actually like to ask my program partner who is utilizing this to give us a great case example of tying things together. Rebecca Bray? Yes. Yeah, it allows multiple agencies that are working with the same client to actually get the information of not only what that client is, their outcome metric is with them, but with the holistic approach as a whole. Um, Next slide, please. So another great example is that, 5 years ago when I first started this, I'll tell you, my friends and family, they made fun of me. They thought I lost my mind. That here I was talking about I'm starting an app company, and at that time, apps were kind of, um, fading away. And then COVID actually kind of brought apps back, especially with the whole Zoom and telehealth feature. And so out of that, we've been working on a project that started in Russell County and has replicated to multiple counties, called Putting Kentuckians First. And sort of a similar program that is trying to launch is Senate Bill 90. So Senate Bill 90 is very similar to what we've already been doing for a year with Putting Kentuckians First, with utilizing the features of this app. So right now we have 186 just out of one county. So if you think about the benefits, that's 186 people that did not have to be incarcerated, that are getting the benefits of the whole collaboration that has access to the app. So, for example, a big one is adult education. Adult education does just more than your, hey, we're a GED program. You got adult education inside of jails. They do case management. Well, one of the features is that these questionnaires are the outcome metrics. We have randomized and scheduled questionnaires. So, for example, somebody really needs to, they need to complete and further their education or job training. So those questionnaires help adult ed figure out who's where every day, who's coming, who didn't come, why they came, why they missed, so that we can figure out for adult education and problem solve immediately for that client. So say you got somebody in adult ed, and when one person starts falling off somewhere in that whole treatment plan, then eventually it's going to be like a domino effect. And then if they quit going to adult ed, then maybe they're going to quit going to their counseling classes. Then they're going to stop going to their meetings. Well, this platform allows all eyes to be on, is my person that everybody is on the same case plan, where are they having problems? And with that two-way telemedicine feature, they can just reach out immediately and say, hey, what's going on? And if they say, hey, I didn't have childcare today, then adult ed can literally still meet with that person so that they don't lose progress. So we have, and with this, putting it first, we are literally replicating new counties every month. So from the beginning of this, it was in Russell County. Now we have gone to 4 counties. Whitley County's coming up. And we have about 7 others that are waiting for us to come and launch, that they want this because it keeps people out of jail and they're being tracked and monitored for their progress, and it's a therapeutic process. Next slide. So that's sort of a very thumbnail sketch. It's the app. The app is content created by a creator here in Kentucky paired with a technology company in Lexington, CoreSoft. We have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week monitoring center. So for every scheduled feature, if a person doesn't do what is on that scheduled feature, we've got a monitoring center that calls and says, hey, you okay? We saw you missed a check-in. We saw you missed the meeting. Is there anything that we can document, help you with? And, I just want to give a big shout out to Becca with RRJ, because RRJ Solutions is my treatment partner that we have grown with this app and in treatment together. And I'm the app, and I'm the content creator and measuring the outcome metrics. And RRJ's, providing the treatment, but the way that this was meant to be is actually really growing and working the way it's supposed to, because RRJ can't be everywhere that I can be. And now I'm going to be working with Hart County Court, Adair County. I have calls for other courts that want to utilize this, so that treatment companies in those counties who are already there are all part of this big putting Kentuckians first.
We have time for a few questions, if anybody has any, since we lost one of the speakers. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay, just speak up real loud. I tried for 2 years to get the judges in Kentucky to expand. I spoke at judges conference. I sent mass emails. I begged, and we are the only site. And of course not. And the reason is you don't get paid for it. I don't get anything extra, and it all happens after work. Yeah, like somebody you said, I believe nothing happens between 8 and 4. It's always 2 a.m. But no, I'm still trying.